You are lying in bed, half asleep, and you hear it. A soft, heavy tapping sound moving across the floor. You look up. There, on the wall, is a spider. But this one is not the tiny thing you'd flick away with a tissue. This one is the size of a large dog. 8 legs spanning wider than your arms. Eyes reflecting the light. Fangs the size of your fingers. It is watching you. For anyone who has ever felt their skin crawl at a spider in the corner, this is the ultimate nightmare. A spider you cannot squish, cannot outrun, and cannot ignore. So what would actually happen if spiders were the size of dogs? Would they rule the world and hunt us in our homes? Or is there a hidden reason this nightmare could never, ever come true? The answer is stranger than the fear itself. Start with the real thing. Spiders are, pound for pound, some of the most successful predators that have ever existed. There are tens of thousands of kinds of them, on almost every patch of land on Earth, quietly killing an astonishing amount of prey every single day. And they do it with a toolkit that sounds like it was designed by a horror writer. Silk stronger than steel of the same thickness. Venom that can paralyze or dissolve. Patience, speed, and ambush instincts honed over hundreds of millions of years. The only reason we are not completely terrified of them all the time is one simple saving detail. They are tiny. Almost everything that makes a spider a perfect killer is currently packed into a body smaller than your thumb. Now let's blow that body up to the size of a Labrador. Take everything a spider already has and imagine it dog-sized. The fangs go from microscopic needles to curved daggers that could pierce deep into flesh. The venom, instead of a tiny dose, becomes a flood. The silk goes from invisible thread to cables that could wrap and hold you. Snares strung between trees or across doorways, strong enough to stop a running person. And the hunting style, the silent wait, the sudden explosive pounce, is now coming from something with the mass to knock you flat. A dog-sized spider would not need to be fast forever. It would just need one ambush, one bite, one wrap of silk. On paper, this is one of the most efficient large predators you could possibly design. On paper. Because the real world is about to ruin the nightmare completely. For a moment, let's live in the fear and take it seriously. A world with dog-sized spiders would be a world transformed. Forests would be strung with web traps the size of fishing nets. Going outside would mean watching the trees, the corners, the shadows. Homes would need to be sealed like fortresses. Humans, soft and slow and web-catchable, would suddenly have a serious new predator to worry about. One that could hide in spaces we can't see into and strike from directions we don't expect. It genuinely would be a nightmare. If it could exist. And that "if" is doing an enormous amount of work. Because when scientists look at whether a spider could actually be scaled up to the size of a dog, the answer comes back as a hard, physical no. Here is why. There is a simple rule in nature that quietly decides how big things can get. When you make an animal bigger, its volume, its weight, grows much, much faster than its surface area or its strength. Double a creature's size, and it does not get twice as heavy. It gets about 8 times as heavy. This is why an ant can lift many times its body weight, while an elephant can barely lift its own legs off the ground quickly. For most animals, this rule sets limits. For a spider, it is a death sentence. Because a spider's entire body plan, the way it breathes, the way it stands, the way it moves, is built for being small. Blow it up to dog size, and every one of those systems fails at once. Let's watch it happen. Start with breathing. Spiders don't have lungs like ours. Most of them breathe through something called book lungs, delicate, stacked folds of tissue that soak oxygen out of the air passively without any real pumping. This works beautifully when a spider is tiny, because oxygen only has to travel a tiny distance to reach everything. But scale that spider up to the size of a dog, and suddenly its body is enormous, while its primitive breathing system barely improves. Oxygen simply cannot reach deep enough, fast enough, into that huge body. Our dog-sized nightmare would be starved of air the instant it existed, a giant predator gasping, sluggish, and suffocating under its own size. And breathing is only the first system to collapse. Now the skeleton. Spiders wear their skeleton on the outside, a hard shell called an exoskeleton. At small sizes, this shell is light and strong and perfect. But remember the rule. Make the spider bigger and its weight explodes far faster than the shell's strength. A dog-sized spider would be trying to hold up 8 times more weight with a shell that only got a little thicker. That shell would need to become so massive and heavy just to not shatter that the creature could barely move if it didn't simply collapse under itself first. And there is a worse problem. Spiders have to molt, crawl out of their old shell and grow a new one, staying soft and helpless for hours while it hardens. A dog-sized spider, soft and boneless during a molt, would be crushed flat by its own weight before its new shell ever set. Growing up would kill it. And then there is the way spiders move, which is honestly one of the weirdest things about them. Spiders don't extend their legs with muscle the way we do. They push them out using fluid pressure. They basically pump their legs straight with a squirt of internal liquid, like tiny hydraulic machines. It's a brilliant trick at small scale. But pumping fluid to push a leg works less and less well the bigger the leg gets. A dog-sized spider would struggle to move its own massive limbs at all, its hydraulic system far too weak to fling those heavy legs around in the lightning-fast way small spiders can. So picture our monster now, unable to breathe, barely able to stand, and moving its legs in slow, feeble twitches. Not a nightmare. A helpless, wheezing blob. Put it all together and the terrifying dog-sized spider falls apart before it can take a single step. It cannot get enough oxygen. It cannot support its own weight. It cannot even work its legs. Far from being an unstoppable predator, a spider scaled up to that size would be one of the most pathetic, short-lived animals imaginable, collapsing, suffocating, and helpless. The very things that make small spiders such perfect killers are the exact things that make big spiders impossible. Their whole design has a built-in size limit baked right into it. So every time you see a spider and shudder, you can take comfort in a strange fact. It is small not by accident, but because that is the only size a spider is allowed to be. Now, a fair question. Didn't giant bugs really exist? Yes. Long ago there were dragonflies with wingspans wider than a hawk's and other oversized creepy crawlies. But there was a special reason. Back then, the air itself held far more oxygen than it does today. With that much extra oxygen, those passive, primitive breathing systems could finally reach deeper into a bigger body, letting bugs grow to sizes that seem impossible now. When the oxygen levels dropped back down, the giants vanished, capped once again by their own breathing. Even in the best case, oxygen-flooded ancient world, though, nothing came close to a dog-sized spider. The other problems, the weight, the shell, the legs, never went away. The giant bug era was the closest nature ever got, and it still fell far, far short of the nightmare. So what if spiders were the size of dogs? The honest, almost funny answer is, they simply can't be. And the reasons are baked into the deepest rules of physics and biology. The thing standing between you and a world of Labrador-sized spiders is not luck and not pest control. It is the square cube law, the amount of oxygen in the air, and the humble design of a body built only ever to be small. The scariest predator your imagination can build is quietly held in check by nothing more dramatic than math and breathing. The spider on your wall is terrifyingly good at its job, precisely because it is, and always must be, tiny. So the next time a spider makes you jump, take a breath and remember the invisible cage it lives in. It will never be bigger than a handspan, no matter how many nightmares you have, because the universe itself will not allow it. All that predatory perfection, all those fangs and silk and venom, permanently shrunk down to a size you can cover with a cup. It is one of the strangest mercies in nature, a perfect monster, saved from being a real one by pure physics. If barely avoided nightmares like this are your kind of thing, the terrors the world quietly refuses to build, stick around. Ever wondered what other monsters only math is keeping away?